विवक्षते तद्धावत्रो ज्ञानत्येति तिष्ठत्तस्मिन्नपो मातरिष्वा दधाति तदेजति तन्नैजति तद्दूरे तद्वन्तिके तदन्तरस्य सर्वस्य तदु सर्वस्यास्य बाह्यतः यस्तु सर्वाणि भूतान्यात्मन्येवानुपश्यति सर्वभूतेषु चात्मानं ततो न विजुगुप्सते यस्मिन् सर्वाणि भूतान्यात्मैवाभूद्विजानतः तत्र को मोहः कः शोक एकत्वमनुपश्यतः सपर्यदा शुक्रमकायमप्रणमस्नाभिरगुं शुद्धमपापविद्धम् अविर्मनीषी परिभूः स्वयं भूयाथा तथ्यतोऽर्थान्यदधात् शाश्वतीभ्यः समाभ्यः अन्धं तमः प्रविशन्ति ये विद्यामुपासते ततो भूय इव ते तमो यहुविद्याया गुरताः अन्यदेवाहुर्विद्यया अन्यदाहुरविद्यया इति शुश्रुमतीराणां येनस्तद्विचक्षिरे विद्यां चाविद्यां च यस्तद्वेदो भयगुसः अविद्यया मृत्युं तीर्त्वा विद्ययामृतमश्नुते अन्धं तमः प्रविशन्ति ये सम्भूतिमुपासते ततो भूय इव ते तमो यउ सम्भूत्यागुरताः अन्यदेवाहुः सम्भवादन्यदाहुरसम्भवात् यदि शुश्रुमधीराणां येनस्तद्विचक्षिरे सम्भूतिं च विनाशं च यस्तद्वेदो भयगुसः विनाशेन मृत्युं तीर्त्वा सम्भूत्यामृतमश्नुते हिरण्मयेन पात्रेण सत्यस्यापि हितं मुखम् तत्त्वं भूषन्नपावृणु सत्यधर्माय दृष्टये भूषण्ये कर्षेयमसूयप्राजापत्यव्यूहरश्मी समूहतेजो यत्ते रूपं कल्याणतमं तत्ते पश्यामि योऽसावसौ पुरुषः सोऽहमस्मि वायुरनिलममृतमथेदं भस्मान्तर्गुं शरीरम् ॐ क्रतो स्मर कृतगु स्मर क्रतो स्मर कृतगु स्मर अग्नेनय सुपथाराये अस्मान् विश्वानि देव वयुनानि विद्वान् युयोऽभ्यस्मज्जुहुराणमेनो भूयिष्ठां ते नम उक्तिं विधेम
Welcome you all to big group discussion. We'll be taking up the questions we have discussed a little while earlier in smaller groups. Now the same questions will be taken up in this bigger forum. So I will be requesting each of the monitors to first read out the group members' names and then the group question. Group number 1, it's a group question. Monitor Mr. Singham.
Hariom. Group 1 members were Sailesh, Leela, Yamuna, Usha and myself. The question. I read it once fast and then go slow. The boss in the office is finding fault with you, though you are putting in the best of your efforts. You start hating him. How to handle this? The boss in the office is finding fault with you. I repeat, the boss in the office is finding fault with you, though you are putting in the best of your efforts. Though you are putting in the best of your efforts, comma, you start hating him. You start hating him. Question. How to handle this? How to handle this? The boss in the office is finding fault with you, though you are putting in the best of your efforts. You start hating him. How to handle this?
Who's the questioner? Sorry.
So
Whose question is this?
it's a question taken from the question bank.
Question. Given that chair, Amita. Is anybody seated there, Leela?
We'll take up the group answer.
The answer, despite putting one's best efforts, if one does not assess the nature of the boss, it can lead to an unreasonable expectation. Resulting in hatred and disappointment.
Can
I
you
repeat,
please be a little slow so that we all can write down?
if I read it once fast, then everybody gets a picture of it, and I go slow again. Sorry, picture of again.
I think we'll just read it once slowly so that they can write down.
Right. Okay, I'll repeat slowly. Despite putting one's best efforts, if one does not assess the nature of the boss, it can lead to an unreasonable expectation. Resulting in hatred and disappointment. Next point. The solution to this is to assess, understand and accept that he is helplessly expressing his nature. Stop. That's our answer. Thank you.
Any clarification?
I have a question. The question is, how do you handle it? Assessing, understanding, and accepting that he is expressing it doesn't handle the situation.
The group like to answer?
You want to take one question at a time or bring up more? Can we ask more queries now or you take one question at a time?
No, Mr. Sinha asked a question. Try and address that first. Sinha, your question is to the group answer, is it? Mr. Sinha, your question is to the group answer that he has given, or in general?
General. Anybody?
In the last part of the question is not answered. How to handle this?
Yes, I guess be more forgiving and put yourself in his shoes. Don't be judgmental.
So if anybody has to clarify or ask a question, please raise your hand. Then I'll give you an opportunity to speak so that we all follow one. Mr. Sinha, do you have an answer to Sunya's question?
The second part, the solution, is the answer. The solution in this case is to understand, assess and understand, and accept that he's just expressing his vasanas helplessly. So if you can understand that part, you will stop hating him. Because you led to a situation where you are starting to hate him for his actions. So if you can accept that he's just expressing his vasanas, you can't change him. You can change yourself by accepting.
The word is in helplessness, helplessly expressing. So he's helpless, that's his nature. That's how he will express himself. So we have to understand. And the solution is, he does say that understand that he's helpless in his nature.
Are you answering the question?
No,
or you-
your solution gives the answer. I think.
Yes. Is that what you are saying?
Yeah.
You accept the answer?
Yeah.
Jacob, you have any further additions to Sinha's question? You have an addition?
Sort of addition because he asked, it doesn't solve the problem. Isn't it? The question was that.
No, are you asking or
No,
adding?
no, the
Question,
I'm
clarifying.
just clarifying that the question was, the answer didn't really answer the second part, how to handle the situation. So, I mean, the answer given, I think, is not really complete because it tells you why the boss is acting like what he is.
So if you think the answer is incomplete, it can be a part of your addition. You can give the answer. But this is what the group had consolidated and said, this is what we understood, and this is what is the solution according to us. So if you think it's incomplete, when I ask for additions, that time you can contribute and say, this is the solution. So any direct clarification to what is already answered, you can take up. Others will take up fresh additions. Anybody has fresh additions to the question, the main question? Yeah, please.
No, because I think there's two aspects to it. One is we're talking about looking at it that he's expressing his vasanas, but I think there's always, like I said, two sides to a coin kind of thing. Problem. the problem could be from the boss side, or the problem can be from your side. So you have to analyze, for one, your own actions and see whether they were right. Second thing is, I think there needs to be a two-way dialogue between you and the boss to find out where the problem is. I mean, his and your expectations might be completely different. So unless you know what he's expecting from you, you will not know whether you're fulfilling his, as far as you can, his expectations. And of course, the third aspect is, it's a continuation to that, whether the boss is expecting something, so-called illegal things from your side, like fulfill business illegal dealings, because maybe it's a business you're not creating a profit, and he's expecting you to cut corners or do something. So there are a lot of aspects to this question, which I think is not really fully answered in the answer they've given. They've explained part of it, yes, the first part, why the boss is acting that way. But I think they have not covered it fully, and especially the how you can handle it in a day-to-day situation.
Can I explain? We actually took this question from the question bank. So we did have a similar discussion at the beginning. We tried to analyze the question, but after our discussion, we thought that we shouldn't dissect the question, and we should take it for the face value, because the question says that you have done your best. So we took it as at face value that, okay, you have done your best, but your boss is still not happy. So then we proceeded to answer the question. Initially, we did break it up, what could be the problem, we should sit and discuss with your boss. Is the problem just with you, or is it in general he behaves the same way with everyone else? We did have this discussion, but eventually the group decided that we'll take it at face value of the question. Anybody else?
I have a comment.
Srinivas, just arrange for 2 more mics. Odd mics also will do.
Tomorrow.
Just arrange, sir. It's convenient.
I have a comment. My comment is to do with an attempt to analyze the intent of the question. Here, I interpret it, and I'm not sure whether I'm right or not, but I interpret this question as putting forward a real-life, day-to-day situation which has to be resolved in a harmonious and amicable manner, using the knowledge that we gain from these teachings. So the issue here is that the boss is finding fault. Thus, how do we stop this from happening? And then, additionally, we are already putting in our best effort. That is not helping the stopping of finding fault. Will these teachings in any way help us to use these best efforts, approach it with a different approach, and yet stop the fault finding, whereby we are able to harmoniously continue in the workplace, which would really be the takeaway we'll be able to apply in our everyday lives.
How do we do that? Stop.
Just to clarify, Mr. Sinha, see the scenario that we discussed in the group was mainly to the problem that you are hating the boss. How do you solve that part? Not he's finding fault with you. He's finding fault, no doubt, but you are starting to hate him for that. So the whole scenario that we discussed was, how do you tackle this hatred towards him? He's going to find faults every day, that's his job. But how do I stop hating him for that? So that was the context that we discussed.
I see. Okay.
I'd like to add.
It's you have to change yourself. There's no you cannot put the fault on someone else. If you can't change, you should be willing to change yourself and find and improve yourself. If this situation will go on, even if you go to other place of work, if you don't change, like your ego, like the ego plays an important part in this, I think, that you're not willing to change yourself. The whole idea is to change yourself.
We try to accept.
Dr. Ravi has a clarification.
Addition.
Addition, yeah.
Yeah, I agree with the answer. It's correct. Okay, you are addressing only how to remove the hatred rather than finding which side is right or wrong and everything. Okay, the addition that I want to make is, like what Usha said, and the answers from the group, that you have to look within and not outside, and that's what you call the helplessly is doing it correct. So the addition that I want to make is either accept it or change on. That's all. Because that person is not going to change. His vasanas, he has to clear it. So why fight with his vasanas, his own problem? His problem shouldn't become our problem. Either accept it or change on. Or become the boss.
At least if everyone becomes a Vedantist,
We'll take up any further additions to the main question. Vinayji?
The question is, boss in the office is finding fault with you. Though you are putting in the best of your efforts, you start hitting him. How to handle this? I think when Shailesh clarified, I think you have got the point right in clarifying the question. The accent is, why is there hatred in my bosom? Why am I having hatred? Fair enough, the first point you made, I appreciate the additions, all are very much in line. The second point the group is making about accept that he's helplessly expressing his nature. It is a general statement, what we call in philosophy as generalization, vis-a-vis a specific statement or a point. So you are saying his general vasanas are functioning. And also I commend the group to have assessed that you are taking the situation of the boss on face value, which means the boss is right. The boss is realistic in his feedback to your best efforts. So how would you clarify by saying this is vasanas? Are you not contradicting? On one hand you all said, yes, it is his nature, you are saying. On the other hand, you are saying, yes, the boss is right. On one hand, you are saying he is wrong. On the other hand, saying you are right. So the second point doesn't clarify. So I would question the second point. Further to this, I would like to add to the question, how do you handle this? So it's what's required is a practical help to the person who is suffering. So what is the advice the sufferer who is going through that agitation, what is it to help? See, why is the person suffering is because he is expecting a fruit or a reward out of the performance of action, which is expecting the boss to recognize his efforts, to be appreciated, to perhaps gain some rewards, some incentives. So there is a fruit in mind behind the performance of action. And from that stems the agitation, because he experiences a disappointment, because he is result oriented. That's the reason why he is agitated. He's hating the boss in spite of the best efforts, because he is performing a desire-ridden action. And when you don't get the desire or fruit of your action, you are disappointed, aren't you? So the advice he needs to be given is, please remember, my dear, that the fruit doesn't belong to you. Your right is only with action. Why are you interested in the outcome of your action? must learn to shift your focus from the fruit to the performance of action. When a person is interested in the fruit of action, his actions gain a rajasic tinge. He's desirous. But when you get on to the performance of action, renouncing the fruit, your actions become sattvic. Instantly, the moment you have that attitude to work, the work itself is a reward. You find the greatest satisfaction in doing your part. Why do you need rewards to make you happy or peaceful? You will be at rest at all times. Whether you are praised or censured, that doesn't matter, because you find satisfaction in your own actions. You have to renounce the fruit of action. And this is a specific advice to the question. To say that his vasanas are functioning helplessly is not really answering the question. You see? And obviously we can't find a fault with the boss. So when you say go within, even when you say go within, Ushama, you said go within, it is very generic, isn't it? Very general. It's like I ask you, hey, can you tell me where have I left the pencil? Ah yes, I have seen it in the auditorium. Please go and have a look in the auditorium. I know I have left it in the auditorium. But where it is? No, please look in the auditorium, you shall find it. I'm sure it will be there. Well, that's very general. You know, at the left side corner, there was a couch. I think it's next to the table on that next to the couch. You should find it. I saw it the last. That's being pinpointing it to the source. So the effort should be not to generalize. The effort should be to narrow it down so that you can find a solution. Because many times we seemingly have answered, but when you put it in a different perspective, we have not really helped the personal situation. So it is not the question with the boss, it's a question with his approach to life, which is he's expecting and has an anxiety for the fruit.
Why do you say that she is expecting the fruit? They just say that he is putting the best effort. So why do you presume that?
When a person puts in the best efforts, he should find satisfaction in the work.
Yeah, but the boss is not recognizing it.
Doesn't matter. Recognition or praise is a reward or the fruit of action. Is it not? Why am I not being appreciated? So much I have done for you all, in spite of it, nobody, in fact, they are misunderstanding me. Why are you concerned about the feedback of your action? If I am interested, what are you all thinking about me after of a talk or of the event? I can have sleepless nights. Why should I be interested how you are evaluating my performance? It's for me to judge how well I've executed and leave it with that. Praise or censure is not in my hand, isn't it? Can I determine how you would react to my performance? Can I determine that, man? Can you determine what fruits you will receive to your labor?
But he's the boss here.
That doesn't matter. Boss is only a reference point, but we're talking about the world at large. That's why we said the world is right. Don't blame the world. In spite of all the best efforts, you are in that situation, something wrong with me, as rightly said. It's not with the boss. You said you're giving your best. I can't perform beyond my potential. If this is my capacity at this moment, I will perform that song. If what I would be different 10 years later is different. Or 6 months down the road, I'm different. But this moment I've given my best, so I should be content with that. So we must all try to be in the present and limit to the performance, not to the fruit. That seals the point. Otherwise we are just going round and round. That's my observation.
Guruji, I have a question. My question...
Please use the mic.
No, you must clarify, is it a fresh question?
You have a clarification to answer?
Yes.
You have something to clarify to what I said?
Yes.
Oh, please.
My question is, while you addressed the disconnect with the fruit, the process of the best effort itself, which I face practically, in that process, how would I deal with if I come to know that there are certain people who are trying to stop that process, even though they know it is in best interest of the organization?
I don't understand.
I put forward a process,
Right.
and there is common agreement that this process is the best direction for the organization.
Okay.
Yet, within the board, I report to a board, which is a group of people. Within the board, there's some people, for reasons best known to themselves, try to stop or throw a spanner in the works of this process. How do I handle the situation?
Use your intellect. You'll have to assess them and find out how to handle them. You're asking a general question as a general answer. Use your intellect. You are trying to ennoble an act, and you're saying there's an opposition to it. Ensure, first and foremost, find out why is there an opposition. Is there an agenda behind it? How pure are your actions towards the ideal? In spite of your best efforts, you will find not necessarily everybody toe the line. So it will be to your interest to ensure what's causing their objection, and if you can justify and clarify it. If not, you'll have to, like Krishna dealt with all those around him, like Duryodhana, you have to be aggressive to advance your cause. At all times, you must ensure the objective is for an ideal. If you have a selfish agenda, it becomes personal. There's nothing personal with you to them. All you need is to serve a cause. That doesn't mean everybody identifies with you. I've been working for a cause, not necessarily everybody understands you. There's a fair chance you could be misunderstood. And they are fair to their opinion. And if you are true to yourself, you will find ways and means how you can advance your efforts, with or without them.
Thank you.
Any other clarifications? Now we move on to the next group. Group number 2. Question taken from the question bank. Mr. Sinha, the monitor.
I'm number 4.
Group.
I'm group 4.
You're sitting here.
No, I was sitting
So,
there.
Dr. Ravi. Dr. Ravi.
Hello? 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 Hello?
Yeah.
Volume? Hello?
Hello?
Can.
Okay, from Hariom, from group 2, myself Dr. Ravi, my teammates are Balaji, Srinivasa Rao over there, Janaki, and Ratna. Okay. Right. I read the question that we have chosen from the question bank. So I was about to say blood bank. Okay. How does
Fair enough, fair enough.
How,
But this is helpless. Really helpless. Doctor, what else he will do?
like,
Vampire?
how does, the question, how does one stagnate in spiritual growth and how to get over it? How does one stagnate in spiritual growth and how to get over it? Question taken. What is the answer? Okay. Spiritual growth, by definition, is a state higher than intellectual growth. One pitches up to that level by taking up a higher
Dr.
ideal.
Ravi, please go slowly. We are writing down.
Oh, I thought I was very slow. Okay. Okay. Spiritual growth by definition is a state higher than intellectual growth. One pitches up to that level by taking up a higher idea.